There is a strange pattern that happens to people who genuinely want to change. They don't necessarily give up, they don't necessarily stop caring, and they definitely don't lack dreams. Instead, they keep beginning. A new routine, a new goal, a new schedule, a new promise. And somehow, months later, they're standing in almost the exact same place. But here's what makes this interesting. The problem may not be what you think it is, because there's a psychological reason why a fresh beginning can feel incredibly powerful, while continuing something you've already started can suddenly feel almost impossible. And once you understand what is happening inside your mind, you'll start recognizing this pattern everywhere. In your habits, in your work, in your goals, and maybe even in the way you've been trying to change your life. Today, we're going to discover why the human mind becomes attracted to beginnings, why progress becomes uncomfortable after the excitement disappears, and the discipline that allows you to keep moving when your brain starts looking for an escape. And the most interesting part comes near the end, because the solution isn't to become more motivated. It's something much simpler and much harder. Think about the last time you decided that you were going to change something. Maybe it happened on a Monday, maybe at the beginning of a new month, maybe after seeing someone who seemed far ahead of you. Suddenly, your future looked clear. You knew what you were going to do. You imagined yourself waking up earlier, working harder, training consistently, studying every day, becoming more disciplined. And for a moment, you could almost feel like that future version of yourself already existed. That's the first clue. The beginning doesn't require you to prove anything. It only requires you to imagine. And imagination is cheap. Execution isn't. This is where psychology becomes interesting. Your brain is highly sensitive to novelty. A new goal feels different from your ordinary routine. A new notebook feels different. A new schedule feels different. A new identity feels different. And that difference creates stimulation. You suddenly feel like something is happening. But then reality asks a completely different question. Not, how excited are you, but will you do this again tomorrow? And again, and again, and again. That's where the fantasy of change meets the repetition required for change. And repetition isn't exciting. It's quiet. Nobody applauds you for completing the same ordinary task for the 20th time. Nobody gives you a reward because you stayed disciplined on a completely normal Tuesday. But that's precisely where your character is being built. Here's where people make a critical mistake. They interpret the disappearance of excitement as evidence that something is wrong. They say, I'm not motivated anymore. Maybe this isn't working. Maybe I need a new plan. And sometimes they create one. Now they have another beginning. Another burst of energy, another feeling that everything is finally going to change. But something has quietly happened. They've trained themselves to associate change with excitement rather than change with consistency. And that distinction is enormous. Because if you only work when your emotions support the goal, your emotions become your boss. And emotions are terrible managers. They change with your sleep, your environment, your stress, your mood, your circumstances. Discipline exists for exactly this reason. Discipline allows a decision made by your rational mind to survive a temporary emotion. That's what makes discipline powerful. It isn't the absence of emotion. It's refusing to let every emotion rewrite your decisions. Now let's go one level deeper. Imagine you decide to learn a difficult skill. The first week feels incredible. You're researching, you're watching tutorials, you're making plans, you're imagining what you'll be capable of 6 months from now. Then comes week 3. Your progress slows, mistakes become obvious, the results aren't impressive. And suddenly another opportunity appears, something newer, something easier, something that makes you feel competent again.
This is where novelty seeking can become dangerous to your progress, because starting something new gives you another opportunity to feel like you're progressing without requiring you to confront the difficult part of the old goal. You don't necessarily quit because you're incapable. You quit because the new beginning temporarily feels better than the old struggle. Read that again mentally. The new beginning can become an escape from the uncomfortable middle. And if you don't recognize that pattern, you can spend years confusing movement with progress. That's why discipline isn't simply work harder. That's too shallow. Real discipline means learning to tolerate the psychological discomfort that appears when something stops being exciting. Boredom, slow progress, temporary failure, repetition, delayed reward. These aren't signs that your goal is failing. Sometimes they are the exact environment where discipline is being developed. Think about that. The boring day isn't necessarily the wasted day. It might be the day that proves whether your behavior depends on motivation. So here's the rule I want you to remember. Never make a permanent decision based on a temporary emotional state. You had a bad day? Don't abandon the goal. You missed one session? Don't declare the entire routine dead. You performed badly? Don't immediately search for a completely different path. Recover, adjust, continue. That's discipline, not perfection. Recovery speed. The disciplined person isn't someone who never falls out of rhythm. It's someone who doesn't turn one mistake into a month-long disappearance. And this changes the way you think about failure. A setback is information, not an identity. If you miss a day, learn why. Was the goal unrealistic? Was the environment distracting you? Was the task too large? Did you depend too heavily on motivation? Fix the system, then return. No dramatic restart required. And this is where I want you to try something different. The next time you feel the urge to completely restart, stop. Don't immediately create a new plan. Don't redesign your entire life. Don't wait for Monday. Ask yourself one question. Am I actually moving towards something better, or am I trying to escape the discomfort of continuing? That question can expose a lot, because sometimes you don't need a new strategy. You need to become comfortable with the strategy you already chose. You don't need another beginning. You need another repetition. And here's the discovery I want you to leave with. Your future is usually not built during those moments when you feel unstoppable. Those moments are useful, but they're temporary. Your future is built during the ordinary moments when nobody is watching, when the excitement is gone, when progress is slow, and you still keep the promise you made to yourself. That's where self-trust comes from. Every time you keep a commitment to yourself, even a small one, you're collecting evidence. Evidence that you can rely on yourself. And the opposite is also true. Every time you repeatedly make promises and abandon them, your confidence in your own decisions can weaken. So discipline isn't punishment. Discipline is self-trust in action. You are teaching yourself, when I decide something matters, I don't disappear the moment it becomes uncomfortable. That is a powerful identity. So tomorrow, don't look for another perfect beginning. Don't wait for Monday. Don't rebuild everything because today wasn't perfect. Take what you already started and continue. One page, one workout, one lesson, one difficult conversation, 1 hour of focused work, one repetition. Because your life doesn't change when you finally discover the perfect plan. It changes when you become the person who can follow an imperfect plan long enough for it to work. And maybe that's the part nobody tells you. The person you want to become isn't waiting at the beginning of your next attempt. They're being built quietly through what you choose to continue today. So don't ask yourself, when should I start over? Ask, what can I continue right now? Because sometimes you aren't one new beginning away from changing your life. You're one decision to continue away.